is this stupid jingoism. And it makes you angry. And if you're somebody who can, can see through the lies, it makes you angry to hear that, right? And that's why a lot of leftists, I think, are out there burning American flags and are out there saying things like America was never great, right? It's a reaction. It's rage in response to that stupid jingoism that says you're not allowed to question the government because of American patriotism. But you won't ever catch me doing that kind of thing anymore. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll tell you why. In 2015, I went to the Islamic Republic of Iran, and it was a life-changing experience for me. And in 2015, not only did I get to visit Iran, but I participated in a humanitarian mission. I went on a boat from Iran to Yemen, and it was a boat from the Red Crescent Society. And we were trying to bring humanitarian aid to the people of Yemen, who are being bombed, and still to this day, bombed and destroyed by Saudi Arabia. I mean, hundreds of thousands dead. I was on this ship for 13 days. And when you're on a ship for 13 days, and you're the only American on the ship, and there's only about 10 people on the ship who can speak any English, and you're seeing American warplanes flying above, and you're seeing Saudi jets, and you're hearing reports about what's happening, and you're on your way to a war-torn country, that makes you think a lot. And your mind really starts to delve into spiritual matters, and what does your life mean, and what is it all about? And we never reached Hodeidah, which was the port we were going to. And the reason we never reached it was because they bombed the port of Hodeidah 8 times in a single day on the day we were supposed to arrive. Killed all kinds of dock workers. And on top of that, they bombed the medical university in Hodeidah. And they killed medical students who were doing nothing but wanting to help other Yemeni people. And they killed them. And obviously, with the port that we were going to destroyed, and so many people dead, and reports that we would be attacked when we arrived, we had to turn the ship around. And we ended up going to Djibouti. And that was quite an interesting experience, my escape from Djibouti. I'll tell that story someday, but I'm not going to tell it today. Anyway, I got back to Iran. And when I got back to Iran, they gave me the opportunity to do something that very, very few Americans have ever done. And I actually got to see the supreme leader of Iran, the Grand Ayatollah Ali Syed Khamenei. And I was in this auditorium with about 20,000 people, and I was about 100 feet away from the supreme leader of Iran. That's something very few Americans have ever experienced. And I remember, I was there, and I was with a lot of Chinese diplomats and diplomats from Africa, and we all had our earpieces on, and we're standing there in our suits, and we're very formal, and some of us had chairs, and we're standing there. And usually when I would go to Iran, I was surrounded by the wealthiest people in the country. Like artists, writers, people that worked at TV networks, and people who worked for think tanks. But when I was in this auditorium with 20,000 people there to see the leader of the Islamic Revolution, I wasn't seeing the rich kids of Tehran. I was seeing working class Iranians. And when he came out onto the balcony, the supreme leader of Iran came out onto the balcony, he just walks out onto the balcony. The most gentle, he wasn't doing anything dramatic, just walks out. This audience just screamed in adoration. And people started sobbing and moving back and forth. And it was like the most dramatic moment when the supreme leader walked into the room. And the reason for that was because if it weren't for the supreme leader of Iran, these people wouldn't have running water. And they wouldn't have electricity. They saw the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, they saw him as the one who fought for their interests against the rich and powerful. And so I stood there in this mausoleum with my earpiece on, and I listened to the speech. And it was interesting, because at the time, negotiations were taking place between the USA and Iran. The nuclear deal was taking place. So I stood there, and I'm listening to the conversation. And, he's going on. I remember he said that we oppose both the crimes of ISIS terrorists and the crimes of police brutality in the United States, because they're both the same, and you must always oppose brutality. And I remember he said that the westernized Islam that works with the USA and terrorist Islam are both distortions, and we have our true version in Iran. But there's one moment that I will never forget. One moment that just touched me, because he was talking about the negotiations that were taking place between the USA and Iran. And he said that these negotiations are taking place, that he was allowing the USA and Iran to negotiate around the nuclear issue. He said, but the USA and Iran would never be allies, he said. And he said that Iran would never align with American imperialism. And then something happened that I will never forget. Is he said that, which is commonly said in Iran, he said that the USA was the great Satan. And then I was the only American in an audience of 20,000 people who all began chanting in unison, "Death to America, death to America." And I stood there and I froze and tears went down my cheeks. I was just overwhelmed. And I think back on that moment. You don't forget a moment like that. You don't. And I stood there and I thought how horrible it is that this is what America means to people all over the world. The United States of America, to so many people, it doesn't mean, they weren't chanting death to my family. They weren't chanting death to people who just want to get by. To them, America meant war, and it meant grinding countries into poverty, and it meant destruction. That's what America meant to them. And when I heard them chanting death to America, I thought, God damn it, how dare these people call themselves America? How dare the billionaires and the bankers that run this country call themselves America? These are the forces that would cut food to children in the Bronx so that they can build drones and destroy people and kill people in other countries. How dare they call themselves America? These are the people that sold America down the river with so many trade deals. These people have nothing to do with America. What they stand for is global financial dictatorship. And what people around the world need to know is that there's two Americas. Yes, there's an America of Wall Street billionaires and bankers, of militarists and prostitute politicians, sure. But there's another America. There's an America of people who just want to survive and feed their kids and live a decent life. There's an America of all the people who fought for social justice around the world and stood against empire and war. There's an America of all the people who've organized for women's rights and LGBT rights and so many struggles for justice that have taken place. There's another America. And no, now is not the time to say, make America great again. Now is the time to build a new America. I think that we need a government of action that will guarantee Americans the right to education and health care. That's what I think. I think we need a government of action that will nationalize the oil. Right now we're in the middle of an oil boom. They're producing 11 million barrels of oil in the United States, more than ever before. With fracking, there's so much oil. But yet we don't see any of the profits from the oil. The people who get rich from our oil and from our gas are people named like Rockefeller, DuPont, and Carnegie. We need a government of action that will say that's America's oil, that's America's gas, that's America's coal, that's America's timber, and it should be managed and the profits made from it should go to serve the people of America. We need a government of action that will work to provide education and actually, there was a time where the United States was churning out some of the greatest scientists and engineers in the world. Why can't we be doing that now? Why are we so focused on bombing and destroying other countries? And why are we so focused? I wasn't going to bring this up, but China is doing this amazing project with the Belt and Road.